All right, so now we're recording. I can always edit something out, if you need to later. But hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Club Fed got a true story for you today. Guy is going to the Club Fed, Florence, Colorado, where I did my time. And if you don't think there's Club Fed, there really is, guys. It's just not a country club, okay? I want to introduce you Bruno. He got 24 months, just got sentenced from the Imperial Valley. And Bruno, say hello and let you know where if you want to start from the beginning. I know there's a lot of people going through pretrial right now and wondering how much time they're going to get and the whole process. So here's Bruno, guys.
Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, well, my name is Bruno. I'm a 29-year-old getting ready to surrender to, like Sean says, Club Fed in Florence.
Right behind me. That's where you're going. Right behind me.
Oh, nice. Okay. June 21st is my self-surrender date.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's just counting the days, getting my affairs in order at this point. I was sentenced on May 5th, so probably like a little less than a month ago.
Okay. How long were you on pretrial for?
Started January 2020. Literally January 29th, January 30th. That's what. No, actually, sorry.
So
let me take that
about
back.
a year and a half till you got sentenced.
So in pretrial, actually, it's going to be a year, May 28th.
That's
This,
fast. Most
yeah,
guys are 2 or 3 years.
yeah.
Got this.
And,
That's a speedy trial.
but I got told that I was being investigated by the feds in January, the last week of January 2020. I think it was
Okay.
January 30th, January 31st. That's when the FBI came. Well, they didn't knock at my door, but they gave me a letter,
They gave you
which
a letter.
yeah, I mean it's a pretty, pretty funny case in a way for me, because my case was a political, so it involved politicians. Because I used to be a commissioner and one of the boards here in the Imperial Valley,
Oh, really?
and
At your age? Congratulations.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. So it was pretty weird, because the way it happened is uh, the feds actually met me at a restaurant. An undercover was posing as somebody else. However, after getting into talking and everything, what my case is basically I was sentenced to one count of conspiracy to commit bribery as a political
Conspiracy.
prisoner.
They're known. That's a
Oh
famous
yeah.
charge.
Hmm. So I
Can't
was charged.
can't we don't know what to charge her, but conspiracy.
Yeah, and and obviously it was bribery because of me being a political official, and then my
Yeah.
co-conspirator as well. Um, so basically what happened is we met at a restaurant, we talked, obviously there was discussion about that, and then it ended up being an undercover agent, the guy that we were speaking to. So funny thing is we talked with them. I mean, he paid for dinner, which was everything. He paid for the drinks, so we thought it was like a done deal. And
Yeah.
then we go out, and literally 4 or 5 agents step out of brand new
Uh,
Range Rovers. I still remember the cars, bright
yeah.
white Range Rovers.
They drive nice cars. Those
Oh
feds.
yeah, really, really nice cars. It's Range Rovers. They drop out. They say, "Hey, we need to speak to you, Mister Bruno," and then my conspirator. And I was like, "Oh, okay. Like, what's going on?" Because they had the badge, they had the gun. I mean, they didn't take out the guns on us, right? But they had the holster and everything. So I was like, "Whoa!" Like, I just finished eating dinner, and these guys are popping up.
Like one of them TV shows, or
Uh-huh.
something.
Yeah. So they brought us in the car. I mean, I'm obviously like a little bit buzzed because I mean we were drinking, eating, having a good
Was the
time.
undercover agent drinking with you too?
Yeah, I mean that's
He
that's
was
the
drinking the alcohol too, huh?
I mean, now that I think about it, not as much as we, obviously, right?
Right. Yeah. Or he
But
was pretending to, or something. But
yeah,
you
and honestly, I mean, really good agent, really good agent. So yeah, I mean, they bring us in the car, they start asking us questions. I'm like in shock, like what is going on? Like, I mean, is this for real? Am I getting punked? Maybe this is just like a little game the politicians play with each other. Like I'm just going
Yeah.
through all these scenarios in my head, and they just hand me a letter, and it's a what's it called? My lawyer told me a target letter.
And they
And
need 5 agents to do that to hand you one letter.
I guess so, sir. I guess so. They love using their resources. So
Yeah. A
so
lot
they
of
gave me the
overtime for them. Yeah.
yeah they gave me the letter. They let me go right there and then. The letter had 5 counts, and if I remember correctly, one count was conspiracy, bribery, uh, wire fraud. Um, what was the other one? Did I say money laundering already?
No,
No, money
money laundering.
laundering, and I can't remember the fifth one. And
Those are like the big five, though, or you know what I mean. And wire fraud is so open, conspiracy so open, money laundering. You know, and you could. I mean, George Floyd was money laundering. You know.
yeah, I mean, so I get this letter and I'm like, whoa, like all these charges, and then it tells you like the target letter tells you how much each charge is.
Yeah.
5 years, 10 years, 5 years. So I'm doing the math and it's 25 years, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? You
Yeah.
know?
25 years. Yeah.
And I'm like,
And
whoa,
you
like
know, that's when you take it. If you took that to trial, you probably would have got that.
yeah. I mean, obviously, further down the road, I found that out. So obviously, the next day, I go see an attorney, just to make sure that this is legit. You know, it isn't a joke and everything. And the attorney was honestly, I mean, he was really truthful from the get go. I really like that. You know, he wasn't sugarcoating anything. He was telling me the pros and the cons of the situation.
So you paid for an attorney the whole time,
Yeah, I got a private attorney.
the whole time through, or did you
Yeah, the whole
switch?
time through.
Okay.
Like, cause I lawyered up the next day from that
Yeah.
happening. And then he said he was going to reach out to the AUSA, the person prosecuting, and then he'll let me know if it's legit or maybe it was just like a witness letter or whatever. A couple of days go by. He called me. He said, "You know what? You actually are the target of an investigation. Um, they do want to. They do say they have some evidence against you." He's like, "What I can do right now is negotiate a reverse proffer." And these are like all these new terms that I'm learning. I'm like a reverse
Yeah.
proffer. What
Tell
is
me that one. That's a new one to me too. Explain that one.
So reverse proffer is basically you and your attorney get to go to the office of the people that are prosecuting you. In my case, the department was the FBI. So I went to the offices here in San Diego, and they show you all the evidence they have against you. They show you like recordings, they show you letters, emails, texts, calls, and everything. Oh, I forgot to mention they gave me the letter, they confiscated my phone. They had a warrant.
Oh, yeah. They did that to me when they raided my house. They gave
Yeah.
it back after, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean mine too, because I had payments on it still. So
Did they come to your house later, take your computers and things like that, or any? They never raided your house for more
that's the
evidence.
thing. That's the thing. They did that. They got my phone, and then obviously when we went to a reverse proffer, all my messages were there, all my calls were there, all my social media was there.
Yeah.
Um, and then they had the recordings from the undercover.
So that's all part of your discovery, right? I know that. I know
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a.
discovery. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
oh wow, okay. So obviously this isn't a joke. You know, this isn't a prank. I mean, this is very serious. It's time to take it serious. And then right there and then they made a deal. The prosecution offered a deal. You know, they were like, you know what? I know we have all these charges against you. However, we're willing to just do one count of conspiracy, and your guidelines are from 30 to 37 months, and we're going to recommend the low end of the guidelines being 30 months.
Oh yeah. So
And
they made you do on an offense level. Let me see. 30. Let me guess. That would be 19. Offense level
yeah,
19.
I
That
think
sound
so.
right?
Yeah, I
And
think
did they take a couple points off for acceptance of
yeah.
responsibility, or was that after?
No, they after actually I was like at a 22, I believe, and they took 3 points down because of
And
my
that brought you
sentence.
down to 19. Okay.
Yeah,
All
it
right.
brought me down to 19. And yeah, I mean, obviously, from that point, I mean, we didn't hear anything back. You know, my what my attorney told me is I'm gonna try to negotiate a better, you know, get lesser months. You know, but I mean, he's like, your best bet is to plead guilty. You know, he did tell me, I mean, if you want to take it to trial, go ahead. But he's like 98% of the cases the feds win.
Yeah,
And
and they have all that evidence and those other charges that they didn't really that they could have charged you with. I mean, they're just like they've got so much evidence against you, you know, and that's one of the reasons that they say we'll drop 4 charges and only charge you for one. It's in case you win that one charge. Okay, we got 4 more. We'll be back. We'll do it again. They got all
yeah,
the resources in the world. You'll never win.
exactly. There's a
You
machine,
know?
man. You're not gonna beat him. You're not
No.
gonna. Yeah. So I mean, it took me a while to like let that sit in, and
Yeah.
obviously,
Oh,
well,
yeah. That's got to be really hard to. I mean, that's you're in denial. You're angry. It's like when the 5 stages of like when of
agree
denial. I mean, you go through all that, right? For, for,
exactly.
first you're angry, I didn't do nothing wrong, and then you're in shock, denial, and yeah, so you're there. You haven't really hasn't. I get it, man.
Yeah. So I mean, this is all happening between January, February, and March, and then the pandemic starts.
Oh
So the
yeah, yeah,
so the pandemic hits and everything obviously shuts down,
right.
And I'm talking to my attorney, thinking of a Hail Mary. Hey, so this is going on. Am I gonna get my case, my charges dropped? Am I gonna be
Yeah,
able to strike a better deal or whatever? Because I started hearing they're releasing people from prison. They're delaying self surrenders and all this. And then obviously throughout that whole time, I'm like researching on YouTube. I'm like going online, seeing what I could happen and everything. And then I stumbled between a lot of prison consultants, White Collar Advice, RDAP Dan, and
yeah.
so all this is going on. The pandemic hits, everything stops. So for a while, from like March to like May, the beginning of May, there's absolutely nothing. I'm not on pretrial. I'm not on anything.
Yeah, they
Uh,
kind of just shut down for a minute there. I remember they weren't taking any, they weren't doing the courthouses were closed and everything was on hold. And I didn't know, I was waiting for people, the news to say that the dead are coming back from to life and and eating each other. I
yeah,
didn't know
that
what.
was, that was the only thing pending, right?
Yeah,
And so May gets here, and I'm thinking like, hey, you know what? I mean, I am asking my attorney. My attorney says doesn't know anything. The prosecution hasn't said anything at all. Just keep on standby. And I'm thinking, you know what? I think this is gonna be like dropped because of what the pandemic was going on. Obviously, this is way before the vaccines coming out and all that stuff.
right.
And so like it looked like the world was ending. We didn't have any toilet paper.
Yeah.
Um, so literally like the last week of May, during this time, I'm not doing anything. I'm like still in a way in denial, but also in a way depressed, because I'm scared. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I haven't done anything positive. I had a really bad, and I'm not ashamed to say this, I had a really bad marijuana problem. I
Okay.
mean, I was like big, like I would wake up first thing was I had to smoke. And
Yo,
then,
now it's legal. Did you live in California part of Imperial
yeah,
Valley or so yeah, it's
yeah, and here's
recreational
the
legal.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, it was legal, so it really was an issue. But my thing, it was like whatever activity I had to do, I had to smoke. Like if I was gonna hang out with my family, I had to have some. My friends had to have some.
I
Go
did
eat.
I did the same thing, man. I was drinking every day, doing lines of white powders and just I went, yeah.
No, I mean, I was just doing that, and I've never been much of a drinker. I mean, socially, but not like to the point of like
Yeah.
getting drunk or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, to me, it wasn't bad. I was like, you know what, this is helping me with deal with my stress, helping me sleep, helping me eat, whatever you want. And then the last week of May gets here, and still same routine, right? And then my lawyer says, hey, you know what? The prosecutor just reached out to me. They need to know if you're gonna want to take this to trial or take a plea.
Oh no. Here you
Uh,
were waiting for it to end. Yeah.
and I'm like,
Shit.
oh, okay. And then I tell him, well, were you able to negotiate like in lower sentence, anything? He's like, no, they're not budging at all.
Nah,
And I'm
you pretty much get that one offer and that's it. If you're in a if you have a state case, they'll come back and forth. They'll offer you 10, you say no. They come back with 7, you say no. They come back with 5. The feds don't do. They go, here's the deal, take it or leave it. Pretty much,
exactly.
right?
And so I
Yeah,
mean, I had no choice. I mean, I obviously took the guilty
yeah,
plea.
yeah.
And I'm thinking like, okay, I'm just gonna do this plea, and then I did it through Zoom because obviously we weren't able to go into the courts still back then.
Sure,
It was
sure.
just entering my plea, um, and I did that, and I'm thinking nothing of it because it was through Zoom. It was just literally the prosecutor, my attorney, myself, and the judge, right?
So you never got locked up the whole time. You were just out on a bond the whole time.
Yeah,
Did you sign paperwork to be out on pretrial?
yeah. It was a bond on my own recognizance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I had. I didn't have to put up money or nothing. They tried, I wasn't a flight risk, so
Me too. I mean, even
yeah,
though I mean, they still let me go to Mexico and everything, but I mean, I've obviously never in my mind had that plan.
yeah. And they let you go to Mexico. Wow,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah. I actually
wow,
went yesterday, so uh,
wow.
yeah. So that happens. I do my plea and everything, and I'm like, okay, that's it. Probably wait a couple another months, and I get a text from a friend like right after that, and he's like, hey, bro, you're trending on Facebook, and I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean?
Trending on Facebook, man.
So I get on Facebook, and all the local newspapers had my name and my co-defendant's name, saying have just pleaded not guilty, and the Southern District of San Diego for allegations of conspiracy to commit bribery. And I'm like, what the hell? And I mean, I turn on the news, and I'm trending on the news, and I'm like, okay, like this was like the big awakening for me. Like, okay,
Yeah.
this is like this is serious. Like, everyone knows about it now. Like, there isn't like nobody, unless you're living under a rock here in the Imperial Valley, you don't know about it, right? So I mean, I'll start getting calls, messages like, "Hey man, are you okay? What's going on? I saw your name." My family starts getting calls and texts too, and it's like, oh my god. I mean, my family knew about it because they were the only
Yeah,
two
but
people.
now it's affecting them personally. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, I'm like, whoa, like what the hell's going on? I talked to my attorney. I'm like, hey, is there any way we could like tell them to take it off? He's like, it's the freedom of speech. Well, it's the First Amendment, man. You're not
It,
gonna
it,
make.
it is, man. I mean, I was in like a couple newspapers too. I never made the news, but I didn't like that. And I don't
Yeah,
remember seeing a reporter in my courtroom, but there's some kind of reporters that just get access to our cases, and they don't even tell the real story, do they?
oh no. There was some news source saying that I was already in prison serving 5 years.
Yeah.
I
Talk
mean,
about fake news, huh?
yeah, exactly. And there was one saying that I got fined $250,000, and I was like, what? Like, what is this information coming from? So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like, I'm not even gonna exaggerate. Like, maybe 95% of them were wrong,
Yeah, I don't
and
know where they get their sources from, or nobody fact checks them. I called up
exactly.
the I called the reporter up from the East Bay Tribune, and I said he wouldn't answer my calls, but I left him a message like, "Motherfucker, you got everything wrong. You need to call me, man. I need to set you straight. Where'd you get your information?" Never got back to me. They don't
I
care.
mean, I honestly considered doing that, but by my attorney's advice, he told me not to. I mean,
I
obviously,
was I was angry in the beginning.
yeah, I mean, I was angry, but honestly, I was more sad, not because of me, not because of me, but because of my family.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, that's what hurt me the most. I mean, they could have said anything about me. I mean, I was in politics, man. I mean, people are always gonna hate you, regardless of what you
Yeah,
do.
yeah. There's always those two. Yeah, the
Yeah,
right
I
and the
mean,
left. The right and the left. You can't keep them both balanced. I know.
exactly. So I mean, to me, yeah, you can say whatever you want about me, but don't attack my family. It's not their fault. I made the mistake, not them, and that's what bothered me the most.
Yeah.
And so that happened, and that's when like they put me on pretrial, and I couldn't consume anymore. Um, I couldn't consume any more
Yeah.
marijuana.
No more marijuana. Nothing like that on pretrial.
So
Yeah.
I had to cut literally cold turkey, man. Like boom, the next day. Like, and it was
Wow.
just like, whoa, okay. And the good thing, my pretrial officer, he's been the same one this whole time. He's been very supportive. Very upfront. Tells me things how it is. He listens to me too. He's not that type of like, hey, it's whatever I say goes. He likes to hear my side if something happens or if I got to do something. He's really workable. When
So
it
let me
comes.
ask you about the marijuana thing, because that'll get you in the RDAP. Did you include that on your PSR or your
Yes,
PSI,
sir.
the little
Yes, sir.
section for alcohol and drugs? Because some attorneys will tell their client, "Oh, don't tell them you got a drug problem. We don't, or you're worried. You don't want the judge to give you a. You think the judge is going to punish you if he finds out you did drugs or alcohol, and that actually helps you to get an RDAP. It does
No,
cost. It does cost you 1 point for your custody level about going to a camp or not, but it's only 1 point, and if you can get the RDAP, so you
yeah,
did that. You knew about that.
I wasn't. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say I was an addict. I mean, I have
Yeah.
been smoking like crazy since like 2014.
How
So
did you know about putting it in the PSR? Was that RDAP Dan helped you out with that, or
yeah,
somebody?
I,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
actually I actually did hire Arda Dan, and we
Okay.
ended up hiring.
Okay. He's a good guy.
And
He helped me. He helped me for free in the beginning, but he's a good guy. What do you?
yeah,
Are you satisfied with his services?
yeah. I mean, I
Okay.
know right now he's a little bit more busy, so he's not really that like able to talk to.
Yeah.
Like, easy
Yeah.
to talk to us in the beginning. But no, I mean, him and his staff helped me a lot, because I had no idea. So this is the thing. Going back to a press release, so that happens. So now, who am I going to ask for a good character letter? You
Yeah.
know. So I mean, that was kind of like, oh God, like now people have this misconception of me, and
Right.
it's going to be hard to ask them for like to assist me with this, assist me with that. So that's where Arda Dan came in, because he's like, my thought process was like, well, I'm gonna ask my political friends. You know, they're higher ups, they're popular people. You know, they have influence.
Yeah, they
You know,
have
they
influence. Okay.
yeah, so they might actually like help me, and some of them did. I mean, some of them told me, you know what, I'll write whatever you want, but then others were like, you know what, man, I can't associate with you anymore. You know, like,
Yeah, you run into those people and like, but I've known you 20 years. No, no, yeah,
and those people, I have no ill will, or I'm not like salty with them. I understand because of the positions they're in, because I was there once. You know, so I mean, I understand that, you know, you can't be associating with those types of people, because then people are going to think, oh, well, he's also one of them, you know, or oh yeah, he did it, he also probably did it too. So I get their reaction. But there was like a couple of people that I thought were real friends, who literally just cut off complete communication with me.
yeah.
And
Makes you
that was
wonder. It makes you wonder the whole time what it takes for somebody to turn on you. I mean, it does.
yeah.
You always wonder about the. Yeah, I mean, and family will turn on you. My part of my family turned on me. I don't know about yours, but
No,
when
mine
no,
was mine was extremely supportive the whole way through, still is.
okay,
You know, I mean, that was like one of the few things that actually kept me like sane, to say the least. And then also, in kind of in a blessing in disguise, because of this being public, I also found out who my real friends were.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, you will.
Yeah,
And those are good. Those are going to be the ones that write you a letter and send you a Christmas card while you're in there, and you'll see. Those are the ones.
yeah. So I mean, kind of it wasn't a blessing in disguise. You know, it got rid of the people that weren't that valuable to my life, and actually showed me who were. You know, so I'm really, in a way, I'm appreciative for that happened. I mean, it sucks that this has to happen for me to find that out, right? But it's, you know, it's the way of it is what it is,
Well, you
basically,
kind of
right?
get to do a spring cleaning on all your friends and associates when you go to prison. It kind of you get to clean house. So when you get out, only the good ones are left in your life. You
Exactly.
look at it like that, you know.
So going back to what with the whole Art Up Dan thing, so he helped me a lot with my good character letters, my personal statements, and obviously explained to me what the PSR process was. You know, because again,
He's the only prison consultant I'll recommend out there. Anybody else, no. But he's the only guy I know because he did a lot for me, and personally, I can speak of things he did for me for free. So Ardap is a good man, I think. So, but go
and
on,
and,
go
and
on.
it actually helped me, because he, even though he didn't like really go into depth, but it actually made me realize is about accepting responsibility. You know, throughout this whole time, I was just like, you know what, man, like, wow, it's so unfair this is happening to me. I didn't kill anybody. I didn't hurt anybody. You know, I didn't attack anybody. So I'm like trying to justify, like, hey, you know what, like, I'm a good guy. You know, I shouldn't be going through this.
Yeah, we all a lot. I went through that too. I know. Yeah, and it's a process, man. Ardap Dan helped you
Yeah,
kind of see that. Yeah, obviously you're not as good as a person as you thought you was. The prosecution and the judge and they're all looking at you differently. So you got to come to terms with, oh, well, maybe I did do these things, right? You
yeah,
know?
yeah. You know, exactly, and that's what happens. Like throughout this whole thing ordeal, I mean, it was just like, okay, man, like you did it. You effed up. You know, take responsibility. You know,
Yeah,
there's no point of blaming X, Y, or Z. You know, you're the one who did it. It's time to basically man up and, you know, move on, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
Dan really helped with that. You know, that he helped me with all those things. Um, he actually also recommended me to do other things. You know, like volunteer. What I did a lot was, obviously this is in the middle of the pandemic. You know, I would help feed the homeless,
yeah,
give them
yeah.
like, masks, give them hand sanitizer, gloves. You know, also, you know, give clothes once in a while. So I mean, those types of things. I mean, to someone who's in pretrial right now, for example, might think like, man, why am I going to waste my time and do that? You know, what's the point of doing it? I mean, don't just do it to like try and get a lower sentence. Do it for yourself, because for me at least, that helped me like humble myself down. You know, it helped me realize, hey, I made a mistake. Hey, I'm a better person than whatever the media or the prosecution is trying to paint. You know, so those
No,
things
I
actually,
hear you. I mean, it makes you a better person on the inside. And like you said, don't just do it to get a lighter sentence. Because I went out with this. Under the Bridge Ministries on Friday nights, and there's about 10 of us, and we had a couple vans, and we had sack lunches and warm winter coats and blankets and socks. And we found the homeless tents, the camps, and we would just go hand them out all night long. And I did a whole bunch of other things. I won't get into all that. But if anything, it made me look at the world, and I grew on the inside. And the judge will see that at the day of sentencing when you talk from your heart, and they they'll see all that change in you. You know what I mean? And if anything, you come out a better person. Even if you don't get a lighter sentence, you're a better person on the inside. And isn't that what we want to do with our time on the planet here, anyways? Become a better person. You would think. I mean, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, 100% with you. I mean, so I mean, I did all those kinds of things. I would give talks to like local church to the youth. Telling him about my mistake. Not to follow my footsteps because obviously what I was facing. So all these things started happening. I finally made the plea of guilty, and then obviously the next step was sentencing, right? So I
Yeah.
was supposed to be sentenced in July, the first week of July of last year, but the whole pandemic kept pushing it.
Pandemic, they put it off.
Yeah.
So
My
so
sen-
you're looking at 30 to 37 months, and I know you got 24 months. So maybe let's see. Tell us. Want to tell everybody how that all happened?
yeah. So obviously my sentencing date keep getting pushed. It was supposed to be in July, got pushed to September, got pushed to November, got pushed to January of this year, got pushed to April, and then finally, it was May 5th of this year. So 2 3 weeks ago.
Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, Cinco de Mayo, exactly. So I'm like, you know what? This last extension, I was mad. I was like, I just want this over with, man. Like, just sentence me already. Like, stop postponing it. Because I mean, I'm like doing the math. I'm like, okay, so if I get 30 months, I should be doing this, or if I get 24
Oh
months,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I should be
Minus 6 months for this, 4 months for that, halfway house time, good time. Yeah, I know about doing the math.
yeah, exactly. So I'm like, oh my god, okay, maybe I get home confinement, or maybe just probation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So throughout this time, I'm still doing the volunteering. I got a little job there working, and finally it's sentencing day, right? So I get there. It was at 9:30 in the morning. Get up to San Diego. Had to leave like at 5 a.m. because it's a 2-hour drive from here. Got there, everyone's there, and it's just literally. I mean, the courtroom was pretty empty. It was just the
Right.
judge, her clerk, the FBI agent who gave me the letter.
That guy. Oh, that guy, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, and then my lawyer, my co-defendant's lawyer, myself, and my co-defendant, right? And we get there. I mean, all rise. We rise. Our lawyers say their spiel. The prosecutor says his spiel, and then it's our chance to talk, right?
Yeah.
And so I say my spiel. You know what, Your Honor? I give my allocution. That's another thing Arda Dan helped me with. Explain
Right.
to them that I mean, throughout this whole time, I have responsibility. I know I made a mistake, but I mean, I'm trying to be a better person. As you can see, my track record of me doing these activities. And same thing with my co-defendant.
Yeah.
And then finally, the judge says, "Well, I'm going to sentence you, right?" And she tells me basically that what I did was horrible. One of the worst crimes that I can do. That I abused my political position. That I hurt the citizens of my city, of my county, and all that. And that she does see that I do have some remorse. Through all my character reference letters, through my allocution statement, through my personal statement, even my PSI. But she says that since I abused my position, she needs to impose a.
Yeah, she's got to give you some. She
has to impose.
You got to do some time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You're going to be in custody, she said.
Yeah,
So
custody time. Custody time. Yeah.
She's like, I'm going to give you a little bit more credit for your acceptance of responsibility than whatever the prosecution is. So instead of 30 months, which is what the prosecution recommended, I'm only going to sentence you to 24.
Okay.
So I mean, in that point, I mean, yeah, she says 24 months, lets down the hammer and everything. My only thought is, okay, are I still qualified for RDAP?
You're immediately doing the math.
I still qualify for RDAP. I'm gonna get 6 months and all this, boom, 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 boom. And then
I did the same thing. They told me
Yeah,
52 months. I'm already calculated though. Did you hear me? Yeah. Oh, wait, 52.
and the judge is telling me all these things like I'm like seeing her from eye to eye, but I'm not listening to her because I'm just so concerned with, okay, 24 months, how much time I'm
Oh
actually
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
get.
and they're gonna pay
Yeah.
back $5 million every month. Blah blah blah. You don't. They could say anything, and you're not really listening after that. I know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So
you're.
I'm doing all this, and then finally she stops, and we can leave, right? And she gives me the self surrender date of June 21st, and I had asked my lawyer previously to ask for Sheridan,
For Sheridan, that's right. I think we talked about that, right? Yeah.
to
Uh,
ask for Sheridan because obviously no camps. I was eligible for a camp because of my crime,
yeah,
and
that's right.
obviously no camps in California or anywhere close to me
None
out
have
there.
heard that. People think Lompoc does, but that's only at the low.
Exactly. And the misconception of that, and I found that out by actually calling,
Yeah, you have to
is
call.
yeah, is before what they would do is if you were at the camp in Lompoc, they would take you to the low.
Yeah, they would let you stay in the RDAP building at the low, and when you're done with the RDAP, you come back to the camp. But now they don't want to cross. They changed all that. Yeah.
And I was actually lucky enough to get someone that actually explained it to me in a professional, nice way. So I was like, okay, good thing I didn't, because I was gonna ask for that because that's actually like maybe like a three
Yeah.
hour, 4 hour from where I live. But
Right.
then obviously, I mean, it was between Sheridan and Florence, you know.
Those are the two closest to California. I think there's one
Yeah.
in Arizona too. Um,
So
yeah.
my attorney asked for Florence. I mean, sorry, Sheridan, and they gave me the June 21st date to self surrender. And so honestly, once that happened, I got out of the courthouse. First thing I wanted to do was eat because I had not had any food at all, no coffee, anything, because I was nervous, obviously.
Right. Right.
And honestly, Sean, a huge sense of relief, man. Like I just felt like a huge weight just get
Yeah.
off my shoulders.
It's
Like
finally
I was,
over. It's
it's
finally
finally,
over. Yeah.
it's finally over. I mean, I had to endure not even a year of pretrial, and it was hell. And I can't imagine for people like you that did like 4 years, right?
Yeah. And there's
And
a lot of guys that call me. They're 2, 3, 4 years, but it's such a relief. If the judge would have told me 10 years, I still would have said, okay, okay.
yeah,
I still would have said because now I could at least plan the rest of my life, or yeah, that pretrial just it's psychologically it's
yes,
I had a pretrial officer came by all the time. See, I gave him a dirty test while on pretrial. They could have locked me back up, but they let me do a drug program. I got very lucky. And so
I mean,
then they were on me like every week coming by the house. They didn't trust me after that. But it actually paid off at sentencing. The judge told me you completed the drug program and did a year aftercare at the drug program, and he actually got less time at the end. But I didn't had no clue of knowing that at the time. So I recommend to people out there, man, um, don't give them a dirty P test while you're on
no,
pretrial. You
no,
might not
no,
get. They don't always give you a drug program. A lot of times they'll lock you up for the rest of your sentencing time. And if they lock you up while you're on pretrial, before you get sentenced, you don't get credit for that because
no,
you
I know
violated
that,
your
but
pretrial. If you get indicted and you get locked up, you get credit time served. But if you violate pretrial and get locked up, now you don't get the credit. So you could be in there 2 years waiting to get sentenced and no credit. So be very careful if you're thinking about getting high while you're on pretrial.
yeah, I mean, luckily for me, I mean, to put it in a way, the whole press release was kind of like a that actually motivated me not to consume anything at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just like, you know what, Bruno, get your shit together. You need to take this as serious as you can. Not just for your sake, but for your family's sake.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm with you 100% on that. Don't I know you might have the urge, you might be mad, depressed, and obviously for your beers, this is for your beers, right? You might be sad, depressed, mad. Don't do it. It's not worth it. I mean, it's that one dirty test could literally mess you up the rest of the way. And I mean, I mean, and I'm not gonna lie, it was hard in the beginning for me, but eventually, I mean, on May 28th, I'm gonna be 1 year sober. So
Congratulations, man.
yeah, thank you, man.
Congratulations. All right.
That's in 2 days. In 2 days, I'm gonna be a year sober. So
So while I was at Florence, I don't know if you saw my video. I started some AA meetings over there.
yeah, I saw that.
I don't know with the pandemic, they had to shut them down, but that but last I heard they were meeting at there's right behind me here. There's at the softball field. They were meeting at a table by the softball field. So, but anyways, this is where you're going in the camp, and the Supermax and all that stuff's across the way. But yeah, as you can see, it's the high desert, so it's not Sheridan has all the trees and the green grass, but it's still a camp, man, and it's a lot of open space. This is what it's going to look like. So that's where you're going to be.
I mean, I know the campers don't have access, but I heard there's a golf course next to it.
There is. It's right up in the back. It's right behind you. Yeah. So they used to have a driving range here for the campers, and they used to have golf clubs. That somehow they took that away. I don't know, but they used to have a little driving range there for the campers.
I'm a big golfer, man. So I mean, if they for some reason bring that back, oof.
That's something you could probably pursue to bring that back. You got to get permission from the CEO who runs the rec department to get the golf clubs in there. No, they let you have baseball bats and everything. So it's not that they use them as a weapon. Campers walk around with chainsaws and power tools and everything else. So that's not a trust issue. I think they were complaining about the golf balls being hit maybe somewhere there's houses nearby too. So, but that's something you might be able to start up again.
Hopefully. I mean, yeah, hopefully I can, so that way I don't lose my driving power. But yeah, I mean, so again, got that, felt a huge sense of relief. I even though it's a 2-year sentence, hopefully I do get into the RDAP program, and if I do, I'm only going to be doing I think 10 months.
Was it you? I asked to call up Dr. Coulter Rodriguez. Was that you?
Actually,
did you call her?
No, I mean I have, but it's been a hassle for me to reach her. So I actually wanted to ask you. I mean, obviously once we're done with this, if we can maybe call her together, because for some reason they're like, well, yesterday they told me she was going to be in meetings, so I couldn't be reached out to her. And then earlier today I tried calling because I know they're 2 hours ahead, and they were like, I guess I got someone that really didn't want to help me, and why didn't you speak to her, and why are you calling this? And then so I was like, okay, you know what, like, I don't want to start.
Yeah, see, sometimes I've called and got that too, and it depends who's answering the phone. They have different staff members that man that phone, so it just depends if you get somebody that some people don't care; they just transfer the call. And if you get the why, then just tell them because I'm turning myself in there, and I need some RDAP information, and sometimes, well, you'll find that out when you get here. You'll get that attitude, but then you get the other person and transfer you right over. I don't have a lot of pull with her. I've just called to check in with her. I don't know about me and you calling her together, but I do know it used to be June. It's every 3 months they start a new RDAP. It was June, September, March, and however that works on a calendar. It was March, June, September, and December. So you're running late, but they do take you in late, and you'll have to do extra classes for like a month. You'll have to do extra assignments to catch up. I think they'll work with you. You know what I mean?
I'll go ahead and give it another. I mean, I'm gonna keep trying. I'm not gonna give up on that because I really want to know.
So have you done the math on 24 months for anybody out there watching? Do you guys know what the math is? What do you come up with?
So with RDAP, this is obviously, hopefully, crossing fingers that I do get into it. It's obviously the 6-month reduction.
Right.
In the program. So from minus 24, that would put me at 18. Okay. You factor in the minus the 4-month halfway house.
Yeah.
So then that would put me at 14. And then you do the 4 months good time.
So the good time should always come first because the good time comes immediately off whatever you get. A lot of people think, well, if I get a year off of RDAP, then how much does that change my good time? No. If you get a 5-year sentence, it's the good time starts right from there. So take 24 months and you get that's 4 months good time, so that brings you down to 20. Now you're going to get 6 months off for RDAP. That brings you down to 14 months. And now it's all about halfway house time and home confinement time. You'll probably get you're for RDAP you get a minimum of 4 months halfway house time. Did RDAP Dan tell you why?
Because
Because
there's a program.
you
Yeah,
got to
there's a
do
program that
aftercare, RDAP aftercare. They call it TDAP. So when you get
TDAP.
out, you're going to go to like a community mental health clinic somewhere, and you're going to do RDAP aftercare. They're all licensed out there. You don't have to be living in the halfway house to do it. You can be on home confinement and do it. That's a myth. Some people think you only could do that in the halfway house. No, you can
So
do you could do it
I
from
have a,
home confinement.
I have a question regarding that. So those
Yeah,
4 months for TDAP,
yeah.
could those 4 months be at home confinement, or they have to be at a halfway house?
No, they don't. So when I was in there, there was you start at the halfway house. You check in. Even if you get home confinement, you have to check into the halfway house. Some
Oh, okay.
halfway houses will let you go home right away. They'll say spend the weekend, Monday you can go home. Other ones make you earn it. You gotta. We'll give you a 6 hour pass if you come back next week. We'll give you an overnight. If you come back next week, we'll give you a weekend pass, and then we'll let you do home confinement. And that it's the halfway house makes their own rules on that. But so when I was in there, my little community, you have 2 groups a week. You have a one-on-one, and then you have a group counseling. So I had people in there. They were waiting to get their home confinement, and like I remember this girl lived all the way up in Napa. It was like a 2 hour drive for her to get to the TDAP meeting. But she
Wow.
started off in the halfway house, got home confinement, and then she would drive the 2 hours, on Thursdays at 2 o'clock to be in our community group. So yeah, you can be at home confinement and still do the TDAP.
Nice.
I just wanted because there's kind of confusions about that. You,
No,
you
that's
don't you don't have to live in the halfway house to do it. No,
nice. Okay. I mean, I didn't know. I thought you had to live in the halfway house, so that's
I
good.
know, and a lot of people do. I don't know where they get that from,
Yeah.
but
So I mean, obviously, if factoring my good time, the art app, and my halfway house slash home confinement time, I'm
that
gonna be
brings you
there
down to 10 months.
10 months. Yes, sir.
10 months, and then it takes 9 months to do RDAP.
Hmm.
So
So
you
yeah,
don't have you have no wiggle room, man.
I have to. Yeah, that's why I'm like I said, I'm gonna keep calling the doctor just to make
Yeah,
sure when they start.
yeah.
Hopefully, if they started in June, hopefully they do let me, like you said, get those back classes. I mean, I'm gonna have a lot of time there, so that isn't really a concern for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, at this point, if I could go in tomorrow, I would. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, just to get it over with and start my time.
Oh,
I have.
she did tell me RDAP's been modified to because of the pandemic and everything. It's not like it used to be, Sean. She told me they've modified everything, so I think that's going to actually work in your favor.
Okay.
The classes they don't have the big community with 100 people meeting anymore. It's going to be in little groups and counseling sessions and stuff. So that should work in your favor because they've modified it just because people are supposed to go home, but now they got the pandemic, and what are we going to do? The person's halfway through RDAP, and now the virus hit, and we don't want to take away their time. So I think it's all going to work out for you.
Nice. I mean, hopefully, yeah. I'm still gonna double check, but hopefully, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, man. I mean, and obviously, just to end my story, that's basically how I got here. Um, I'm glad. In a way, I'm glad that I'm going to Florence because um, it's obviously you've been there, so I mean, you can give me a good rundown of how it is. And then also, I just feel like with everything going on, I need to leave the state, man. I need like a
yeah,
like
yeah.
I need,
I know that feeling too. Yeah,
I need to get out. I need to like stay away from social media, the internet, kind of get like a cleanse to say it in a way, work on myself, work on my body, my mind. And this whole deal has, I mean, taught me a lot. I mean, besides the whole friends thing, besides the whole legal terms, the whole legal system, it's taught me a lot how to be a better human being. And again, I'm not going to get tired of saying this. I mean, it sucks that this has to happen for me to realize that. But hey, it's better than keep doing what I was doing before this, you know. And like I have a motto I like saying it's adapt and overcome.
there
So
you
I mean
go.
it's
There you
yeah,
go.
adapt and overcome, and that's kind of like how I'm handling this right now. I'm glad I'm going like how you say to Club Fed. Hopefully I can I can learn a lot. Take a ton of classes, meet a bunch of new people, meet a bunch of people that can actually like bring some value to my life, and I can obviously bring some value to theirs. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, it's a pretty roller coaster journey, to say the least. And it's just right now, I have a lot of people, including yourself, telling me that before I know it, it's gonna be month 10 and I'm gonna be walking out. So
Yeah, that's gonna go by so fast, and you're gonna be so busy with RDAP, and they're probably give you a little part-time job, and you're gonna work out and do classes. Your time's gonna go by so fast, man. You're gonna be amazed.
and
You,
so what can you tell me like about Florence? Like, what's the like what are mostly people in there? I know it's a lot of non-violent drug traffickers, but is there like CEOs, doctors, lawyers?
yeah. So like I had a buddy. We called him Doc, but he was a heart surgeon. He was out of South America, but he was born there, but he had a little practice out here, and he was overbilling people for surgeries, and I hung out with him, and I mean he's just one guy, but you're gonna have stockbrokers. There's a lot of real estate fraud out there. A lot of
Oh
those
wow.
guys, a lot of doctors with the opiates, a lot of Medicare fraud and Medi-Cal billing fraud, securities frauds, all that. But half the camp is going to be people that smuggled drugs in from Tijuana or the border towns, and truck drivers that were taking it across state lines. You got those kind of. So when I say drug dealers, it's those kind of drug dealers. Even though you might have a housewife that was going back and forth from Tijuana, smuggling something in, but now she's labeled a drug dealer or a smuggler. But you're going to get a lot of those guys, and you got some people. You're going to have about 10% people that work their way down from the penitentiaries and the mediums, and these are your straight convicts, man. But they've done 20 years. So they're going to be on their best behavior because they finally got it outdated and they're going home. But they don't know how to handle rules at camp because we really don't have rules. We don't have politics. There's no gangs. There's none of that. I can sit at the black table. I can sit at the Mexican table and eat if I'm invited. And that's unheard of in the penitentiary. And so these guys come work their way down the ranks from the higher ups, and they can't, and they don't really like guys like me and you. They don't like they want their own kind, because they've been hardened by the prison system. So, but they won't mess with you, but they usually won't talk to you. They'll like ignore you. So you're gonna see a lot of those guys. Um, it's kind of all walks of life, but it basically is your average Joe, your blue collar, your white collar. They call it a white collar prison, but it's also a blue collar prison. You know what I mean? It's your working class Americans of all lower class, middle class, upper class, but your working Joe is pretty much the guy you're gonna see there at Florence. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, that's that's honestly what I'm hoping. My goal in there is to obviously take as many classes as possible, learn as much as I can, and obviously, you know, learn. I mean, learn as much as possible.
Yeah. It's very international too. I mean, there's people from all over the world there. I mean, now that they've got their citizenship in America, but they're born in other countries, and there's a lot of them in the camps. A lot of people don't speak English, and but they're at the camp, and they get through it. There was a man from from South Korea didn't speak a word of English in RDAP, and I helped him out a little bit. A few of us did. He got through RDAP, never couldn't speak a word of English, only spoke Korean. So it's international.
What would you say is the like most demographic? Because I speak Spanish. I mean, I'm Mexican,
Hispanic, fifty
so
percent Hispanic there. Yeah,
okay, good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of guys are born in Mexico, but they've got their whatever proper documents, so they're out of camp because we don't have a fence, so you can walk away anytime you want. So you got to have some kind of American citizenship to be at a camp. Otherwise, they're afraid that people are going to run. But sometimes people walk away from camps, and they walk all the way to Mexico. They don't look back.
That's a
um,
that's a long walk.
yeah, there's no
That's a long.
fences. You can't see it on this thing, but there's a little town right back here, right across the highway. There's a bunch of track homes and stuff, and I used to sit there and stare at them. wondering what it'd be like to have a house across from the prison. And but yeah, I don't know. Florence is a good. Most of the you got COs, your correctional officers, and then you got staff. And staff is your medical staff, your nurses, your doctors. You got all this. These are all warehouses up here, and these are all staff members that run like the auto shop and the warehouse and the plumbing. There's all kinds of trades and stuff, and that's run by staff. I want to say there's staff and there's COs. So you got cops and you got staff. And there's more staff than anything, and it's probably about 70% women that work at Florence Camp. So the warden was a woman, associate your case manager is probably going to be a woman. Everybody you're going to be in contact with is a woman. So if you have any problems with women of authority, you better leave those at home.
Oh
treat,
man.
treat them with respect, okay? You know what I mean? Don't be looking up their dress and all that. Then that'll get you kicked out of the camp. But they're good women, and they'll treat you just fine. You'll see how friendly staff is to you. Not necessarily the COs, but the staff will treat you just like somebody you work with.
I mean that I have no problem with that. I mean, I've always respected women. I mean, I'm not gonna have an issue. That doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know what else can you tell me? Like for example, the sports activities there. Do you recommend them?
Yeah,
I mean,
you like softball's big there. I've said in a
okay,
few like there's softball leagues that you can join, all kinds of different leagues. I think they had about 10 different teams, and they have a big World Series at the end. There's basketball, bocce ball, volleyball, pickleball's big now. You know what that is?
no pickle.
Pickleball. So it's like a big. It's like it's like playing table tennis on a tennis court. Or it's like playing ping pong. They use a wiffle ball and a tennis racket on. Well, look it up. I can't explain it. It's
Okay,
like it's like stand up ping pong.
okay, okay. I'll look it
Yeah,
up.
I'll call it that. Handball's big. There's a weight pile outside. Uh-oh. So yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of weights and stuff. There's a pool room, a couple pool tables. I was in the music room a lot, and I got a little band going together my last year there. And there's guitars, and there was saxophones and drums, and you could accordions, and I don't know, all kinds of music instruments. There's lots of classes to take. If you're into religion, we have a chapel, and they have probably services for 10 different kinds of religions. Um, the food's not bad at Florence. There's
Really?
all you can eat salad bar. Um,
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever watched some of my videos, but yeah, you're not gonna go hungry there. Um, and again, there's no fences, so you're gonna see a lot of things you never expected to see in a prison. Um, in the penitentiaries, they got to bribe a guard to bring something in. Here, you just go to the store and be back by count. So
No, I mean,
literally,
I'm
it's kind of like that. Um,
wow. No, I mean, I'm not trying to break any rules. I'm trying to be
I know,
decent.
I know, because if you get caught, they're gonna throw you in the shoe, take away your good time. You'll be disqualified from RDAP, and you'll be
Yeah, yeah.
doing the whole 24 months in the shoe at the medium across the way or at a low, and you'll never come back to a camp. And yeah, so be very careful. Stay away
Yeah, I
from
mean,
cell phones. You're gonna see cell phones everywhere. Stay away from them, man. They get you in
no,
trouble. Just use the regular phone.
yeah, like I said earlier, I'm trying to get a full cleanse on myself. I don't want any. That's why I think I asked you in one of your videos if there was any internet access because I didn't want any like access to it because I just want to like distance myself from that for as long as I mean, obviously for my term.
There's an
Be,
email system, but you only can email text. You
no, and that's
can't
perfect.
no attachments on it, no JPJs or no only straight text. That's all you can email out, and you don't get an email address uh, so that you can give out to people to email you. You have to contact them on the True Links, and then they'll accept you, and then they can email you back and forth. But So you don't go in with, like Bruno at FlorenceCamp.com is going to be my email.
Yeah.
You don't get one. It's all run through, it's all encrypted and everything. So you don't get one. But you can email out and they can email you back. So anybody you're going to email, you need to bring their email address with you. So because
So
they,
the way it works is basically, let's say I'm emailing you, right?
yeah,
And I get your email, whatever, seancowgill@gmail.com.
SeanCowgill at gmail.com. Yeah.
Uh, gmail.com. You're gonna get like a link. I'm sorry. You're gonna get the email
I'll get
saying
a
to.
message from Correlates. An inmate at Florence would like you to accept him as a correspondent. I'll hit yes, I accept him. Now we can talk back and forth. Now
Okay.
we now we can email back and forth.
Does my name come out? Like, hey, Bruno
It'll
inmate.
yes, your
Oh,
name
okay.
will come out. And I have to go on the Correlates website to email you. So I'm using a third person. I can't use my Gmail.
Oh, okay.
I have to log into Correlates. There's an app you can download on your phone, $6 a year for Correlates. So when you email somebody, they just get a little pop up on their phone, and then they can see it right away. Otherwise, they got to check their spam or their Gmail and see if Correlink sent them a reply to go. Then they have to go log in on the Correlink's website and then read the mail that way, and it gets a little. So the $6 a year is a good investment for your family to have on their. It's an app on their phone.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'll make sure to set that up for them.
There's a whole checklist of things before you go in. I'll go over them with you. Emails and all that. How to send money and letters and all that, and things you can bring with you to the camp. We can
And,
go
and
over that.
I wanted to ask you, like, when did you get out of Florence? Like, what date exactly?
July 30th, 2019.
Okay. Is there any? I'm pretty sure there's some people that are still there from you when you were. Is there
Yeah,
any?
there was guys that were doing 8 and 10 years. I have to remember them. I got some names written down somewhere. I'll give you some guys to look up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and is there a way that I can, like, for example, start emailing one of them, or have them
No,
email
so
me?
you have to wait for them to contact you first.
Okay.
Like I said, you don't have nobody can email you whatever camp you're at. When you're at Florence, nobody from the outside can email you unless you've reached out to them first.
I see. Okay.
Understand?
Yeah,
Yeah, so you don't get an email address. So you're not going to get a bunch of bombers hitting you up or anything like that. No,
okay.
whoever read your name in a newspaper, they can't email you.
I see. Okay. How about writing letters?
Yeah, and you can get a ton of fan mail from anybody. Yeah. Yeah, letters. If you go on the BOP website, it gives you the address for Florence, how to write a letter, and that's another thing I was going to put on your checklist. I got a checklist of like 10 things you should know before you turn yourself in. The letters is one thing too. You can get books sent to you. Even used books can be sent to you, and hardcover books can be sent to you. That's normally not the rule at a penitentiary, but yeah, you get 5 books at a time, even used books, used paper books, back, whatever. So you have stuff to read. I don't know. What what other questions you got? I only got like 5 minutes left on this Zoom. It's gonna cut me off, so I'll give you 5 minutes for questions. Or
No, I mean, honestly, I mean, just like, it was just want to ask you the activities, the classes. We already went over that. Um, the environment. You already told me. The type of people, what to expect, type of staff. Um,
yeah, our dep Dan went too
oh,
low, so he didn't have it as good as we do at the camp.
I can't. Yeah, I know
Although
you
he
were.
had it good, but you get way more freedom at a camp.
Yeah. Also, I wanted about books because I have a ton of paperback books myself.
Yeah, so have somebody mail them to you. They can do 5 books at a time.
Is there like a limit of how many books I can have?
Yeah, you can only hold 20 in your locker. The rest you're going to have to give other people to hold or donate them back to the library. I mean, do you really need 80 books in your locker? I'd
No,
suggest
no.
you read your books and then donate them to the library. We have a library there, and let other inmates use them. You know what I mean? Donate them to the prison.
If I know this is gonna be like super weird, but whatever I get there at the camp, once I leave, do I get to take that out?
You could take out some guys leave with 3 or 4 big giant boxes when they leave if you want to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so and some people ship that home first. They don't actually carry it out. But you have to pay for the shipping. They have a little
Uh,
post. They have a little kind of a post office at the camp, and you can bring a box full of books and send them home. People make stuff in the hobby shop and they have it sent home. I knew a guy that made saddles for horses, and it cost him like $500 to ship the saddle back
but
home.
I
But
know
he
he's
sold the
making bank,
saddle for,
right? Yeah,
huh?
he's making bank though, right?
Yeah, he was getting $10,000 for a saddle.
Wow.
Yeah. He'd spend about $400 on the leather and turn it into 10 grand.
Yeah.
Every few months, I don't know. He'd get like 3 saddles a year. He had a bunch of money saved up. Yeah, when I
Wow.
met him, he had like 80 grand saved up, and he'd only been there a couple of years. That's pretty good for being in prison.
Exactly. That's really good. Yeah. No, I mean that's mostly it. I mean, Sean. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're gonna be talking in the future.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I
But I
really
mean,
appreciate you coming on this channel and all that. And I'm hoping a lot of this stuff helps out the guy behind you. Do you have any message for people out there watching this?
yeah, man. And just to close, I know if you're on pre-trial right now, it may seem like, oh my God, you're in the dark. I mean, you feel blind, you feel like you can't do anything. But trust me, once that sentencing comes around, whatever sentence, whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you start seeing the light. You start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. That's what happened to me. I mean, now I see the light. I mean, it's a small light, but now I see something. Before there was nothing. And honestly, I mean, going by what Sean has told me is uh, this is going to be over soon. Before I know it, I mean, right now I'm making this video before I go in. Probably when I get out, I'll look back at this video and probably laugh, have a good time. But yeah, man, don't get discouraged. Don't do anything stupid. Don't violate your pre-trial release terms. It's not worth it. Trust me. I mean, you're once you get sentenced, I want to say you're 50% of the way there. Maybe even more, maybe 60. I mean, I it depends on whatever different cases, right? But that's the
Right,
way I
right.
feel. That's the way I feel. And I mean, again, don't give up and good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck to you guys.
Hey, one thing I just was noticing this map. I want to show you.
Yeah.
When you're a camper, you have access to. You can walk anywhere around here. You can go in these buildings. You can go to the parking lot where the staff park. You can go in and out the building. You can go down here to the track. You get to walk everywhere you want, anywhere. It's not like just the track. All that's open to walk. You go in and out the front door I mean, it's like you're really not locked up. So I just want you to know you have all that freedom. It's everything you see on here. You walk anywhere you want in this place, anywhere. But there'll be a sign over here out of bounds, and you don't go past that. But
Okay.
but the whole, I mean, you can walk all over. You can go up in these warehouses and visit your friends. We used to go to the parking lot out here to wait for a shuttle guy that would drive us to work. And yeah, you go some jobs are in town, it's Florence town, and so I just want you to know that you get all that freedom at a camp. If that
Uh,
if maybe that helps visually seeing that you can walk anywhere all day
that
long from 6 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night.
that gives me, I mean, a more sense of peace. That actually I'm not gonna be like confined to a cell like how the people
Yeah,
make it feel like in the movies.
right.
Uh,
And some prisons, they can come out of the building, but they only stay in this little square yard. No, you get access everywhere, even out the front door. So yeah, I just want you to know that.
and is
That's gonna be, huh?
it all dirt like in the picture? Or do you guys have grass?
Some of this is grass. This is actually grass, but it's little green dry grass. I mean, because I don't know what time of the year they took this picture, but in the winter, it snows in the trees and you got the animals come out and stuff. But in the summer, it's kind of dry.
What's the hottest it gets there?
It might get 100 degrees sometimes in the summer, but everything's air conditioned. Everything inside is air conditioned. But
Just a
most of your
hundred?
summer, it's going to be in the 90s all summer long.
Oh, that's
Uh,
easy, man. I mean, here in the Imperial Valley, a regular day is like 110, 115.
Oh, it won't get that hot. No.
Yeah.
There
So,
might be a heat wave, but it won't get that hot.
oh no, I mean, so I'm good. I mean, if it snows, that's good because I mean,
It
I
snows, but it melts the next day, and then 3 days later it snows again, and it melts the next day. It really doesn't stay built up. Yeah, it's the
Okay.
high desert, so um,
Mm.
yeah. All
Yeah,
right,
man. I
well,
mean,
I'm gonna
I don't know.
stop the record and we could talk here because it's I got a little timer. It's telling me you only get 45 minutes on the Zoom. So, anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe, like to the channel, and Bruno, and let me.